just so you all know, hi CJ, you are being recorded, and I will send this to the email list. It's not gonna be out to everybody in the world, but just to people on my email list. So just so you know that, and you can also go back and watch it later on if you want. So what I would like to do is I'm going to go right into a kind of a presentation mode. This is different. You may have been on webinars before where the person is presenting and you can't really interact. You're just kind of passively listening. You are welcome to do that, but after I go through the slides, if you have questions or comments or you want to just chat, I'll open it up for that. And that way it's a little bit different from a typical webinar. It's actually more like an interactive class. But I do have a set of slides that I want to get through so that I give you the information. And then if you have questions, just write them down while I'm going through it. And afterwards we can, or if you have a thought, it doesn't have to be a question. And then afterwards we can chat. The slides may take me 15 minutes, something like that. So we'll have plenty of time, maybe 15, 20 minutes. So we'll have plenty of time to chat. And also there is, speaking of chat, there is a chat function at the bottom if you want to send a message. When I'm going through the slides, I won't be able to see those messages, but if you just want to put your question in there and you don't want to, speak out loud or show your face, you can communicate with me that way as well. Okay, so I think that was about it. So I'm going to go into screen share and you should see the power of fasting. CJ, I can see you. Can you see that? Yeah, okay. So I'm Jill Cruz. Some of you know me more than others. I'm a board certified nutrition specialist. I have a Master of Science in Human Nutrition, and I've been practicing nutrition since 2011. My background is in functional medicine, so I come from a world of digging deeply into root causes of issues and not just putting a Band-Aid on something and saying, okay, here's a medication or here's surgery, but there's nothing wrong with medication or surgery, but getting to the root cause of issues. Is what functional medicine is all about. And so that's my background in nutrition. At this point, I specialize mostly in weight loss, metabolic syndrome. So I work with people with type 2 diabetes, or they just want to lower their blood sugar, and health optimization. That's where my real passion lies at this point. So fasting is an amazing tool that pretty much anybody can use. Toward the end, I will go through. There are certain groups of people who shouldn't fast, so I'll mention that. But most people can fast. I actually I've been working with a young woman at the gym that I work at in Nyack, and she's 31 years old. She's 5'5", and she weighs 260 pounds. Well, she fluctuates. And she has struggled with her weight her whole life. And the interesting thing was we were talking about the mindset piece, which some of you know I love talking about the mindset piece of health and nutrition and weight loss. And she's told me that she had never felt what it felt like to be hungry. She didn't understand what that sensation was. When she had started eating a paleo diet before we started working together, she said that she kind of started feeling something like a lightness in her belly, but she still didn't know was it hunger, what was hunger. And then we started doing some intermittent fasting, and all of a sudden she was like, wow, okay, this is what hunger feels like. But she was happy because she had never really experienced that. And it made me think, in our society, people are afraid of being hungry. I think a lot of people I work with, I certainly was afraid to be hungry up until about a little bit over a year ago. Every event that you go to is centered around food. I mean, you can't go anywhere without seeing or smelling or being offered food. So it's almost impossible to just be like, I'm not going to eat for a couple of hours. My kids, when they were in school, they ate breakfast, they got a snack mid-morning, they got lunch, they got a snack, then they came home and they wanted another snack. So it's just this constant flow in our world of food. And so the idea of fasting is almost like, whoa, okay, like it's okay if I don't eat. And some people ask me, they'll say, I thought I had to eat breakfast. I thought breakfast is the most important meal of the day. So the fasting and intermittent fasting have become very popular in the last 2 to 3 years. And I think people have a lot of questions about that. However, there's also a lot of research that's been going on. So we know that fasting is safe and it's okay to be hungry. It's okay to be hungry. Now, if you're lightheaded or you're dizzy or feel like you're going to pass out, that's not okay. But hunger is okay. And that was something that was a real learning experience for me, because I was the type of person, I would wake up hungry, literally wake up and be like, I could eat right now. So it was a very interesting experience for me. And I've been doing intermittent fasting pretty regularly for about 15 months, 16 months now. So I can share with you my journey on that too, if you want to learn a little bit more about that. So fasting actually is an ancient practice going back to Plutarch, who was an ancient Greek writer and historian. And he said, instead of using medicine, better fast today. Philip Paracelsus, who was one of supposedly the 3 founding fathers of medicine, of Western medicine. I hate that term because where are the mothers? Where are the mothers of Western medicine? But anyway, he said that fasting is the greatest remedy, the physician within. So this is going back way, way back to ancient times. We knew that fasting was good for us. Benjamin Franklin said, the best of all medicines is resting and fasting. And I love this quote because today in 2019, it's way more important probably now than it was in Franklin's time. I mean, we go all the time and we eat all the time, and we need to, most of us probably would really benefit from more rest and less food. Of course, we know that fasting is used in a lot of religions, Buddhism, Islam, of course, Ramadan, right, is big fasting time in Judaism and Christianity. People use it to connect with the spiritual world. So not only is it an ancient practice that is recognized by ancient physicians, but it's considered safe and a window or a door into the connecting with the spiritual world as well. So a medical doctor in 1885, he said, every disease that afflicts mankind develops more or less from habitual eating in excess of the supply of gastric juices. So we have this idea that we should eat. We should eat. Eating is good, and it is good, of course. But there is this whole other side that says that we can take a break from eating and we can calm down our digestive system and just let it rest. Because that's one of the benefits of fasting, is that you let your digestive juices and everything rest. Your pancreas, all of that, the enzyme production. And then throughout the mid-1800s all the way through the 1900s, there are a lot of case studies of fasting. So where they would have a study on one person who fasted and saw great results, whether it was for disease or for weight loss. There was actually one guy who was written up in medical journals. He fasted for 389 days. And it was documented in 1973. He not only did he survive, he lost a ton. I mean, he was morbidly obese. He lost all of the weight, and he had no long-term health side effects from it. So that's incredible, right? But we know that we can go a long time without eating. I'm not recommending that anybody do anything excessive like that, but we know that it's not life-threatening in most cases. So what is fasting? So there are many different approaches. There is, like, if you went back into the 50s or the 40s, it was pretty much standard that you ate dinner and then you didn't eat again until the morning. That was normal. So I believe, and many people in the fasting or in the health world believe, that really a 12 or 13-hour nightly fast is basic human health. There's nothing revolutionary about it. There's nothing risky about it. Now, with certain medical conditions, maybe, but the vast majority of people, we really should stop eating for 12 hours a day, minimum. Some people say 13. I say, well, let's start with 12. Because some people I work with, they're eating at 10 p.m. and then they're eating at 6 a.m. or 8 a.m. So they're not getting that 12-hour fast. So that's not even fasting. That's just normal living, or it should be at least. Then there's something called time-restricted feeding and also called intermittent fasting. This is very, very popular right now. This includes any kind of fast that's under 24 hours. So whether you fast for 13, 16, 20, 24 hours, that's all considered intermittent fasting or time-restricted feeding. Time-restricted feeding is really just, okay, I'm going to eat for 16 hours and then for 8 hours. I mean, I'm not going to eat for 16 hours and then for the 8-hour period, I will be in the eating zone. And so that's why they use the term time-restricted feeding. I think it's more accurate than saying intermittent fasting because technically there are some people who say anything under 24 hours is not a fast. You know, we can call it whatever we want, really. Prolonged fasting is anything over 24 hours, and that my recommendation is that if you want to do anything longer than 24 hours, you need to consult with your doctor and make sure it's okay. You need to be checking in with a doctor. I would never recommend, just, go off and do a water cleanse for 3 days on your own. No, make sure that it's safe for you because you could get into serious trouble, especially in the summer, right? Because dehydration is a real issue. The fasting mimicking diet is actually a product. It's a product, for lack of a better way of putting it. There's a man called Walter Longo, and he wrote a book a couple of years ago about fasting that was part of what popularized fasting. And Walter Longo is a longevity researcher. He's from Italy, but he's been living in the States for a long time. And what he found in his research and what he's kind of built his research on, other research that showed that when we eat less, we live longer. And from a longevity researcher's perspective, this is exciting, right? So he's done work with yeast and worms and, kind of started with the basic organisms and then built up to human trials. So there have been lots of trials done. And so what he did is he developed a product called the fasting mimicking diet, also known as FMD, and it's called Prolon. And that's what a kit that you get. And the food is, you actually eat, but your body thinks you're fasting. So that's why he said the stomach sees food, but your cells see fasting. It's not for everybody, but I'm telling you about it. You may have heard about it. And if you want to know more, you can ask me. Sorry. Okay, so this is a guy, Thomas DeLauer. He's a YouTube dude. He claims, and he's got a lot of interesting videos on fasting, if the nitty-gritty details. So if you want to learn more, you can check out his YouTube. But look at this guy. He claims that he's working out fasting. It's YouTube. Take it what you will, but I know there are people who look like this and they fast regularly. So it's kind of interesting because there is this idea that you're going to lose all your muscle. You're never going to be able to get buff if you fast. So there are different views on that, but apparently it is possible to be buff and be fasting. So why would you fast? Well, generally speaking, fasting is good for you for the vast majority of people. The shorter fast, which would be anything under 24 hours, will help you to avoid nighttime eating, which is a common problem people have, help you to regulate your insulin levels, control cravings. Definitely with weight loss, it can be a very, very good tool. Or even if you just want to lean up, like if you're like, well, I don't need to lose weight, I just want to be more lean and toned. Short fasting can help. And also it's super easy. You just don't eat. There's a man named Dr. Jason Fung. He's a nephrologist in Canada. And he says, fasting is not something you do, it's something you don't do, which is kind of, cool because most diets out there are like, you need to do this and that and this and that. This is like, you just don't eat. And then the longer fasts, so the fasting mimicking diet is 5 days. And that's where they've done a lot of research on people, and they found that people who fasted for 5 days, or they did a fasting mimicking diet for 5 days, they started to have the body started to create stem cells. Now, this may not sound like a big deal, but basically we don't create stem cells very much. I mean, if you broke a bone or you had a severe burn, your body would start producing stem cells. Stem cells are trying to create new tissue. So there's a lot of evidence that when you create stem cells, it's going to help your body. Those stem cells are going to go to the tissue in your body that needs to be healed. So a lot of people are using fasting for healing, not for weight loss or anything like that. They just want to help, you know, they have an illness. Fasting, the longer fasting also will help with something called autophagy. And that's where the old kind of not so good proteins that are collecting in our cells and throughout our body, they get cleaned out. When you stop eating for 24 hours, even there's evidence 16 to 18 hours, your body starts to engage in autophagy. It's, you know, I don't make any claims about cancer, but there are a lot of people, and there's some evidence that this can be helpful for cancer prevention. Because one of the problems with cancer is that we have these old cells that are not very healthy, and then they start to mutate. So you're kind of cleaning house when you fast, and you're kind of getting rid of those less healthy cells or the proteins in them. A lot of people claim that when they fast, they have more energy and mental clarity. That's very individual. I'll leave it at that. And then, you know, again, the autophagy is going to help slow down the aging process. And this is where a lot of Walter Longo's research and the research before him, or you know, concurrently with him, are showing that it does increase the lifespan. We know that people who eat less live longer. And a lot of the research was done with caloric restriction. Instead of fasting, you would just eat 1,000 calories a day. But people who do that are miserable. Well, not all of them, some of them are. So fasting came about as a popular new approach to slowing down the aging process and increasing your lifespan without suffering, really. So you also save money, time, and energy if you don't eat, right? If you can just, yesterday I didn't eat till 2. It was helpful to me. I was busy. I didn't have time, and it was like, fine, I'm just not going to eat. It was, you know, it just makes life easier. It goes with any diet. It doesn't matter what diet that you are eating. You could be doing a vegan diet or a keto diet. It doesn't matter. You can fast. And also, some people claim that it does help restore a healthy relationship with food. Cautions about fasting. I would not recommend jumping into it and being like, I'm going to fast 24 hours or 36 hours and I've never done it before. Probably not the best idea. I started with a 12-hour fast, and it was hard for me. It was hard for me in the beginning. I worked up to 13, 14. It really took my body time to adjust. So there's no contest to see who can fast the longest, the soonest. Just do what feels right for your body. Make sure you stay hydrated. When you're not eating, you're not bringing in fluids, you know, liquid that's in food, right? You're missing out on that. So you need to really most likely drink double what you would normally drink of water. You can use electrolytes, but I wouldn't use like a Gatorade or a sweetened product, because even though you're not bringing in necessarily sugar, like if you used stevia or something like that, once your mouth tastes sugar, your brain thinks sugar's coming in. So insulin will go up. And that's one of the goals of intermittent fasting, is to reduce insulin. So you don't want to be like eating something that's non-caloric, that's sweet, or drinking. That defeats the purpose. Do not use fasting as an excuse to eat unhealthy food. I'm going to starve myself for 23 hours and then I'm going to eat, you know, whatever I want, a big bowl of nachos and some ice cream afterwards. That's kind of not what I'm going after here with this. If you are pregnant or breastfeeding, you should not fast. Children should not fast. I mean, I think once we hit 18, it starts to get case by case. But under 18, I would not recommend fasting. It's just we don't understand. It's probably not good, but we don't even understand it. we don't know what the effects are. If you're under less than 18% body fat, you should not fast. Fast over 24 hours need to be done under medical supervision. I already said that. And also, if you are taking any medications or you have a specific health, a diagnosis of some sort, and it's especially relating to blood sugar, you need to consult with your doctor before doing any fasting. In particular with medications, even a 13 or 14-hour fast. Just be on the safe side and just, check in with your doctor. So, can I exercise when fasting? Yes and no. It depends on the person. I can't. It's a disaster. I can, on Saturday, I did a 5K walk fasting. And then I came home and I wasn't hungry, so I cleaned my house. I drank a lot of water, but I was fine. But when it comes to strength training, I'm a disaster. But I do work with plenty of people who go into the gym, they lift weights, and they're fasting, and they feel great. So this is something you have to listen to your body. Do not listen to dogma in this area, please, because it could be dangerous. Fasting for muscle mass, what happens is when you go more than 24 hours without fasting, you will start to lose a little bit of protein, of muscle mass, but it doesn't accelerate, it doesn't increase. It stays, the rate of muscle burn stays the same whether you're on day 2 of fasting or day 5 of fasting. And actually, I have a colleague of mine, he owns a gym, he's a trainer. He did the fasting mimicking diet for 5 days. He measured his body fat and his water and his muscle composition, all of that on day 1. And then he measured it after the 5th day, so the morning of day 6. He first of all, he lost 8 pounds. He gained muscle. He gained muscle mass. So, his water balance, everything was better. I was like, thank you for measuring that, because I've done this with my clients, but I've never seen those numbers like that. So that, it's somewhat of a myth that you're going to lose all this muscle mass because you're fasting. How do you break a fast? Well, if it's an overnight, 12 to 16, 18-hour fast, really just eat a meal. Just eat a nice, good, healthy meal. I wouldn't break a fast with an apple, but that's just me. You have to listen to your body. I would rather see, I do recommend people, some protein, some fat, some fiber, like a good meal. If you're fasting for 3, 5, 6 days, then, you may want to start with a soup or a very light meal, because your body may protest a little bit. If you're not overweight, can you fast? Yes, but with caution. Definitely if you're underweight, you shouldn't. And if you are at your normal weight and you're fit and everything, you can, but you should be a little bit more cautious than someone who's overweight. Like that guy who fasted for 389 days, I forget how much he was. He was definitely over 300 pounds. So, he had more fat tissue on his body. I wouldn't recommend fasting for 5 days once a month if you're at a normal weight. You're probably going to start to get emaciated. And then how often should you fast? It depends on the person. You could do an overnight 16 or 18, 20-hour fast, 5 days a week, 7 days a week if you wanted to. The only thing is, when you're in that eating zone, you want to make sure that you're getting a good amount of calories. This is a question I should add to this list, but sometimes people, they'll do their 16 hours of fasting, then they'll eat lunch. And then let's say they eat lunch at noon, and then at 4, they're hungry. I know, oh, well, I can't eat, because I'm trying to lose weight or whatever. No, you can eat. If you're hungry, you can eat. If you normally eat 1,500 calories, you can eat your 1,500 calories in that 8-hour time slot. So maybe you're eating lunch and then a big snack and then dinner. So I think it's just people get it into their mindset that, oh, I want to lose weight, so I'm not going to eat for 16 hours, then I'm going to have a salad, and then I'm going to starve again, and then I'm going to have dinner. No, because what happens is when you're fasting overnight, your body is burning more and more fat. As time, with every hour that passes, you're getting more efficient at burning fat. So you will feel less hungry. Once you eat, your insulin has now risen, and you will feel more hungry at, let's say, 3 p.m. than you did at 11 a.m. Hopefully that makes sense. We can talk more about it. So, and the $1 million question is, what do you think the $1 million question is? Can I drink coffee? Yes, almost everybody asks me this. So the answer is yes, you can drink coffee if you're used to drinking coffee and you can handle caffeine. If I drank coffee while I was fasting, I would have to take a sedative because I don't drink coffee and the caffeine would be just too much for me. Because part of the process of fasting is that your body produces adrenaline, right? Because you need, in order to break down that tissue, the fat tissue and the muscle tissue, to get that energy, to get the glucose and the fat, your body produces adrenaline, epinephrine, to stimulate that tissue to be burnt. So when you're fasting, you may feel higher levels of adrenaline, which for some people translates to more energy. But if you already have a lot of adrenaline and you drink a cup of coffee, you're going to be bing, 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 bing. I mean, that would be me. The other question about coffee is, is it black coffee, green tea, black tea, even herbal tea, all fine, but not with flavor. If you start tasting sweetness, your insulin is going to start being produced, even if you're not absorbing actual sugar. Some people, it depends on why they're fasting. If they're just trying to lose weight and they can get away with, a cup of black coffee with some unsweetened almond milk or, a little bit of half and half or something, because it doesn't taste sweet and the calories are so low, your body still kind of thinks that it's fasting. So that's a sort of case by case thing. Okay, so now I'm going to go out of the screen share. And so now you're free to turn on your video if you want. You don't have to. And I would love to hear any questions that you have, any comments, something you want to discuss. I deliberately left it short so that we could chat. No questions? Okay, bye. No. Come on, you gotta have some questions.
I have a question.
Rachel?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey, so what do you think about, like, if someone's, like for me, I've actually never done more than 16 hours, which is pretty hard for me, but I get kind of lightheaded. So what do you think about like putting some salt in water? Like, does that help? Because I haven't done that yet.
So my general rule of thumb about fasting is if you feel lightheaded or jittery or nervous, or you're getting super hangry, or you're otherwise just feel uncomfortable, I think you should eat. I really do. Salt water, maybe, but I don't think that's, I mean, it could be that you have low blood pressure, and if you do, maybe salt water would help.
Yeah, I have like very low blood pressure. Like it's usually 90/60.
Yeah, that's very low. So I fixed my low blood pressure by putting a teaspoon of sea salt in my water every day for 6 days. It went, yeah, I completely fixed it. Always check with your doctor if you want to add salt to your water.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely if you have high blood pressure, do not do this. And not everybody is salt sensitive. Only 40% of people with hypertension are salt sensitive. So there are lots of people who have high blood pressure who could be eating salt, but they're not because the doctors just say, no salt. So it's a very individual thing. But if you have very low blood pressure like that, I highly recommend you actually do a teaspoon and spread it out through the day. You don't have to do it all at once. And just check your blood pressure every day and see what's going on. I fixed it. Now I do a 1/4 teaspoon in my smoothie every day, and my blood pressure, which was historically like not as low as yours, but like 100 over 60, 65. And I would stand up and get a hairbrush. That was like a 10 time a day occurrence for me for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. Once I fixed my blood pressure, it went away. So your lightheadedness may be unrelated to the whole fasting thing. It may be just that you need to increase the volume of liquid of blood in your body.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Thank you. I
Yeah, I
just
would definitely
wanted to
try
ask
the
that.
salt water. It's
Okay.
yeah, and we could talk more about that. Rachel
Okay,
is
cool.
actually a nutritionist who's she's preparing for her board certification. So,
Yep.
Colleen, did you have a question?
Yeah, so I'm trying to maybe unlearn some things. So I did the MetaFast diet, lost a lot of weight, but then gained it back. And things that they drilled into you is that you were supposed to eat, 30 minutes after you woke up, and then you were supposed to eat every 2 to 3 hours. And so of course this is totally opposite of that. So I'm trying to figure out, and how do I do that? And then also I work out at Orange Theory, so that's very heavy, intense exercise. I typically do it in the morning. So I was just trying to figure out, maybe your suggestions or have that. And I'm very interested. I picked up the book. I think we met at the conference or whatever. I've listened to that and stuff about like the 1 meal a day kind of thing. So I'm very interested. I definitely want to lose weight, and I now have slightly a liver issue. So I need to figure out that. So just your insights, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, from a biochemistry perspective, the advice to eat every 2 to 3 hours is potentially disastrous, because every time you eat, your insulin goes up. And insulin is the enemy of weight loss. It really is. So people do lose weight doing that. I've met plenty of people who do. But for the long-term consequences, I'm highly skeptical, because insulin resistance is a big problem in weight loss. It's probably the #1 blocking factor for weight loss. And it's rampant. It's everywhere, and doctors don't even test for it. It drives me crazy. So, to me, to a certain extent, the proof is in the pudding. I've seen it work short term, but not long term, that frequent eating.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I mean, we don't need to eat that much. Like, we eat way more and way often than we need to, just ridiculously. So this idea that, there's got to be food at every turn, and if you're hungry for even a moment, it's a potential disaster, is what the heck is going on with that? Hunger will not hurt you. It's okay to be hungry. Now, there is something about, it boosts your metabolism to work your metabolism. I just don't, from a biochemical perspective, I don't understand how they justify that. I really don't. Maybe somebody did somewhere, I don't know. But also, just how do you feel? I mean, what are the results? To me, like, I always will look for the results. Like, identify what your goal is, and then if you're moving towards your goal and you feel good, then it's probably working, right? But yeah, I know you lost weight doing that, but then you gained it back. So maybe that's also like a question of, why, how did that happen? All of that. Mm-hmm. Again, if you can go 4 hours in between meals without eating and you feel good, you don't feel lightheaded, dizzy, shaky, that feeling like your adrenaline is pumping too much and it's uncomfortable, then just keep going. Just keep going without eating. The other question was the exercise. I definitely would just listen to your body. I would never be able to do an Orange Theory workout fasting. I just wouldn't. Are you going, but you're not going 7 days a week, I would imagine, right? I hope not.
No, I've been doing, right now I'm doing a challenge, which has been very challenging. I'm trying to do like 4 days a week. So it's like 2 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on, kind of thing.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, if I could stop my nighttime eating, that would be the thing to really work on, and then try to, push it. So, but.
Yeah. So I work out in the morning. Like today I worked out in the morning. I had to go at 9, we went. So Yeah, yesterday and Saturday I didn't work out, so I ate at like 2 p.m. both days. Just worked out well. I don't have a rule. I just go day to day. But when I don't work out in the morning, then I fast as long as feels comfortable to me. Some days at 10, I'm like, I have a busy day and I have 3 calls and I need to eat now. Other days I'm like, I feel great, you know, I'm just gonna eat when I'm ready. But you could do, if you're doing Orange Theory 4 days a week, then maybe you do a delayed breakfast those other 3 days when you're not working out. And then before you go to Orange Theory, you eat something, but you could also just experiment and see how you feel.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone, like today, I ate an Access bar, you know, it's supposed to help with, you know, turning fat or whatever. But a lot of times I'll get up and I won't eat before I go work out. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but
well, I think just be intentional about it and say, okay, I'm not eating today. How do I feel when I'm working out? And then the next day, eat something and say, how do I feel when I'm working out? Because what you don't want is to be working out and feeling a little bit tired, a little bit listless, a little bit, you know, weaker than you normally would be. That's my opinion on the matter. Like, if I'm going to work out, I want to be there, present, full of energy. I don't want to be like, but I'm fasting, but you know, like, who wants to do that? What I eat is 1 egg. So I eat like such a small amount, but it's like perfect for me. So, you know, maybe you just find that one thing that's just gives you just that right amount of energy, so your workout is very productive. And then you eat when you come home. And then those other 3 days a week, you fast until you feel, you know, like till noon or whatever feels right to you. But yeah, in theory, there's absolutely nothing wrong with exercising on an empty stomach from your overnight fast, in theory. There are people who say, how can you build muscle if you haven't brought in any fuel? And my answer to that is, well, your body can produce fuel. Your body can produce fat, sugar, even break down amino acids if needed. It's just a morning. It's not like 3 weeks or something. But, you know, some people, their body responds better to it than others. So you go by how you feel. My dog's in the background there. He likes to eat.
And any suggestion on, I know I've read that coffee, you know, we can do coffee, but I don't do coffee. Any suggestion on something to drink other than just water, plain water?
I'm a fan of just plain water. So. I do recommend to pretty much everybody that you put some mineral drops in your water. You can buy them at, I'll show you. There's this product called Concentrace that I use. Hold on. I'll show you guys real quick. Just do the screen share. You see it? So this thing here, Concentrace, it's you can buy it at health food stores, or you can buy it from them directly or online. If you buy from Amazon, always buy from the company that makes it. Like pretty much anything you buy on Amazon, because there's a lot of scammy things out there. But yeah, this product is great, and you can even just put like a couple drops in. It may seem like a kind of esoteric kind of little detail thing, but if you think about it, before there was such a thing as, you know, tap water or bottled water even, we got our water from streams and lakes and local water, and it was filled with minerals. Now the water that we get, the most of the water that you get from your tap is from local bodies of water, so there are minerals in them, and they don't take out the minerals. So actually tap water is great in that sense, but you have to take out the chlorine and the fluoride and all that stuff. If you buy bottled water, a lot of times it's purified and they've taken out everything. So we need minerals in our water to assimilate the water properly, to get that balance of water inside the cells and outside the cells. So that's why even just a couple drops of Concentrace or a similar type of thing will help with water balance. Because a lot of times, one of the issues that I see with a lot of my clients is that if they eat food from restaurants and out, fast food or whatever, even if it's like healthy, they gain weight because there's so much sodium, and the body doesn't have this good balance of electrolytes to keep the sodium out of to keep the water out of the cells. So anyway, sorry. I'm going off on a tangent, but I think this is an important piece that everybody should be doing, is having a little extra minerals in the water. If you don't like the taste of water, you can add a little squeeze of lemon or lime or something like that. But I mean, we really should just be drinking water. Herbal tea, green tea, black tea, those are all fine. If that's something you really want to do, then you should do it, but I wouldn't go out of my way to add it, I guess is what I'm saying. And also we know that green tea and coffee have a lot of polyphenols, which help boost the metabolism. So sometimes people will drink green tea or coffee in order to accelerate fat burning, and that is valid. But, it's got to be something you like, obviously. So does anybody else have questions?
Hi, Jill. This is Nicole. I just have a question. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I started with doing the 13-hour fast. I'm just coming back from vacation, so everything was a little off. But I think my goal is to always be at 13 hours like you recommended. On days I can, I'm trying to do 16 hours. I guess my question is like incrementally, how significant is each hour? Like, do you think that 16 hours is significantly better than 13 and 18 is better than 16? Like, should I try to push longer, or do you feel like it's not that much of a difference between 16 and 18 hours?
Well, there is a difference, because what happens is with each passing hour, you have less glycogen. And glycogen is the sugar that's stored in the muscles and the liver. It's like the backup fuel. So once you hit 18 hours, your glycogen is, obviously there's a little inter-individual differences here, but it's generally around 18 hours that your glycogen is just gone. So what happens is now you're really, really in fat burning. Like, you're just burning a higher percentage of your fuels coming from fat at 18 or 19 or 20 hours than it was at 16. So yeah, if you can shoot for 18, that's great, but 16 is still pretty good. Like, it's just incrementally a little bit higher percentage of fat being burned, if that makes sense.
Okay, so it is worthwhile to try to push longer, it sounds like.
From a fat burning perspective, which is not only about weight loss, right? Like, obviously, if you want to lose fat tissue, then you want to burn fat.
Right.
Also, just from training your body to be an efficient fat burner, which we all want. Everybody wants that. Yeah, it is worth it, but only if it's comfortable to you. See, one of the reasons why I'm such a huge fan of time restricted feeding is because it's so easy to do. It's like no skin off your back, really. Like I said, if I feel crappy and I need to eat, I will eat. But my whole goal is to make it easy and comfortable, relatively comfortable. Yes, do I, every half hour or so think I'm hungry? Yes, I do. But then I drink water and it goes away and I feel fine. But if you're at 17 hours, you're like, oh my God, I can't go on another moment, then don't push it.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, and your body will get better at it too, because you will be more efficient at burning fat. Because the name of the game is how quickly can my body switch into fat burning mode. That's the whole thing, right? You want to be, that's also the difference between a 20-year-old and a 60-year-old, right? Like, 20-year-old is like, I'm just much more efficient at burning fat. As we get older, everything slows down. So it's kind of like, a boost to the metabolism. I even say, like, some people, their lifestyle or whatever, they don't do well with those shorter fasts every day. So some people do Some people do a 24-hour fast once a week. That's another strategy. Because then you're getting into like even more fat burning, essentially.
Yeah, I did end up doing a 24-hour fast maybe last week, or it was very easy, and I really do think I saw results from that. But one thing I have noticed is that I do feel like I'm eating less during my eating windows. Like I feel like I'm filling up faster too.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah. Because, you know, I mean, the thing, and I was going to talk about this in the presentation and I forgot, is that like once you hit 30 to 35, you don't really need to be growing anymore. And when you have, you know, you're eating a lot of meat and your insulin is high and then therefore your insulin like growth factor is high, you're kind of growing even though you're not getting taller or anything. There's a lot of growth factors going on. You don't need that. You know, you eat less. And one of the issues with that, you know, is that cancer is a growth disease. It's a disease of uncontrolled growth of cells, right? Like cancer happens because your cells are diseased and they're replicating like crazy. And that's what builds up a tumor. So there's, you know, a lot of this research going into cancer prevention or helping with pairing a fasting or a fasting mimicking diet with chemotherapy to reduce growth. And so, yeah, even if you're less hungry, like there's probably nothing wrong with that. The only thing is you want to make sure that the quality of the food that you are eating is good, so you're not becoming malnourished, right? Like, oh, I'm not saying you're doing this, Nicole, but you know, out there in the ether of fasting, I can imagine, I've seen it on Facebook, people, you know, well, it doesn't matter what you eat. I'm going to fast 24 hours and then I'm going to eat this meal that's like fast food and it's devoid of nutrients. That person's going to become malnourished pretty quickly if they weren't already. So you got to make sure, you know, you're getting like a decent amount of protein and enough fiber for your large intestine. And are you getting enough fat to support your hormones? Are you getting enough micronutrients, B vitamins and minerals and all of that stuff? That you still need to get all that stuff in even when you're fasting. So that's why it's very problematic if if someone eats 2 meals a day and one of them is like, you know, a burger with bacon and the other one is, you know, just a salad or something. I mean, I think, you know, most people who fast are not just going to eat total crap, but that is maybe perhaps one of the challenges of fasting. And I recommend Chronometer. I love Chronometer. It's a great app. I'll put it in the chat for those of you, hopefully you can all see Chronometer. It's a diet app. And when you enter what you're eating, it calculates your minerals and your vitamin, not only the proteins and the fats and all of that and fiber, but also the minerals and the vitamins. So if you're regularly, you know, you're fasting, you're hitting your caloric target of, you know, 1,100, 1,200, whatever calories a day, but every day you're low in B vitamins, then that should be addressed, in my opinion. You know, because even if you're losing weight and everything, you don't want to, I mean, you can take a multi, of course, but let's put it this way. The USDA requirements for minerals and vitamins is not that high. So I mean, you should be able to hit that, at least the minimums with your food every day. Sorry, I'm droning on and on, but just one more comment. That when I see, because when I work with clients in programs, I monitor what they're eating in Chronometer. People who eat more vegetables, they usually hit their targets. It's amazing to see. Although sometimes people are not eating enough meat too, and then they won't hit their protein targets. But anyway, other questions? No? You guys got me for 9 more minutes. You could ask about anything you want. I feel like we covered a lot about fasting. Fitness, exercise, fiber, fat, protein, hormones. All right, well, I guess we're done. What I wanted to say is this. Oh, yeah. Oh, you know what? This reminds me. Those longer fasts are very interesting too. The 3-day or the 5-day. And there's a lot of, if you read Walter Longo's book, I forget what it's called. Hold on. Walter Longo. The Longevity Diet, it's called. If you're interested in fasting, I do recommend reading this book. And also, this guy has some fantastic YouTube videos. Dr. Fung, great videos on fasting. So if you want more information, just Google Dr. Jason Fung on YouTube. You'll find great stuff. The longevity diet is very research-based and everything, but he advocates doing a longer fast once a year, twice a year. You know, it depends on your health. He recommends for people who need to lose weight or people who have cardiovascular disease that they do a 5-day fast once a month. Of course, using the longevity, his product, but he donates all of the profits that he gets from that company to longevity research. So for him, it's not. He just believes in it. So there is something to be said for doing those longer fasts, for not just for weight loss, but really for those deeper health benefits, long-term health benefits. So that's cool. So the other thing I was going to say is what I would really like to do is do one of these calls a month, just because we have a community. Let's hang out sometimes and talk about stuff. So if you have any topics that you would like me to present or we can discuss next month or the following month or whatever, please let me know. I'm looking for topics that people are interested in. I don't want to just kind of randomly pick topics that I think are interesting. So let me know, and I will be trying to do this once a month. So please, come again. All righty? Cool. Well, have a good rest of your Monday, and I'll hopefully see you soon. Bye. Shirley, I'm messaging you now.
Great. I think it would be great, Jill, if you're interested, because we've been doing, mindful life, mindful leadership, and we did some mindful health webinars. And I know, at the conference, we had great responses to your work. But if you want to do a couple of these to our network, if that's of value, we get a lot of people who sign up for them. We have a pretty big network. So I think what you did today is really helpful. I think people would like to hear this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would love to. I mean, I want to be out there talking to people as much as I possibly can, especially people that are interested.
Yeah, because when my husband started researching the 3-day fast, it was really about a health restart.
Yes.
And so he does it. I tried to do it. I couldn't do it more than a day and a half.